The Legend of Wano. For some, it was a legendary arc, right? The greatest of all time. For others, it was one of the worst arcs and the most overrated of all time. What do I think? I think it had enough epic moments to make it one of the most memorable and exciting arcs, right? But I don't think we could put it at the very top. Easily in the top tier of One Piece arcs. It was a spectacle, but even though it was a great arc, I think it could have been legendary, right? It could have blown all the other arcs out of the water. It had the potential to do this, right? But I feel like Oda, likely due to editors and corporate decisions, made some strange story and character choices that just didn't allow Wano to live up to its potential. Again, I love the arc, and it is one of my one of the best, but I truly believe that it could have been the best, right? Hands down, and it could have been, and it just missed the mark, right? Due to several factors, which I will be getting into today. This is my Wano review, right? We're gonna be reviewing all of Wano. I don't want to make this video ultra long, so we're gonna kind of go through it as quickly as possible and just focus on like the most important or most impactful moments that I can remember, right? Let's rewind to the beginning of Wano, right? It holds a very special place in my heart, actually, because right before Wano started, it was where I had finally decided to cave in and start reading the manga, right? Because for a while I was an anime only watcher, but at some point during Whole Cake Island, while I was watching it, I just couldn't take it anymore, right? And I said, screw it, I'm reading the manga, right? So in one night, I finished the entire second half of Whole Cake Island and began reading The Reverie. And at that point, I was all caught up. So a couple of chapters later, we arrive on Wano, and we're in this samurai world. It's awesome. The Straw Hats are all split up, but Luffy finds Zoro, which we haven't seen in ages, so that's really awesome. And then they have a showdown with Hawkins. The Straw Hats regroup along with Law, but then bam, we see Kaido in his dragon form, right? And we it's absolutely mind-blowing. My mouth is watering, right? I'm like, Kaido is a freaking dragon, right? It was insane, right? It was epic. We had never seen something like that in One Piece. I'm like, how the heck is Luffy gonna defeat this guy? This guy is the epitome of a monster. So we get that awesome moment, and then Kaido uses Hyper Beam, which is insane because it's like the first introduction to like real energy blasts in One Piece. So it really started feeling like, okay, we're getting to like these top tiers now. These are like, it's getting to like Dragon Ball Z levels, right? It's getting crazy, and like the auras and stuff in the anime, which we'll get into in a bit. In the manga, we even get that beautiful sequence, right, where Kaido uses Thunder Bagua and speed blitzes Luffy, which I thought looked so perfect in the manga. But I personally hated how the anime handled this scene in particular, because they focused more on Kaido's durability and him being able to tank Luffy's attack instead of his incredible speed blitzing ability, which personally I thought was much more terrifying, right? Because we already knew this guy was durable, but the fact that he was also extremely fast, I think made it more mind-boggling, right, to the readers than him just, tanking a hit and then giving one back. I thought it was much more impressive, and they should have kept the speed blitz of the Thunder Bagua from the manga, but, they decided not to. Let's talk about the anime real quick, because we can't really talk about Wano without at least touching on the anime. The anime is definitely a step up from previous arcs, especially in the New World, and especially after the time skip. Most consistent, right? Very consistent in terms of quality, especially in the recent anime arcs. And the new art style was very, very refreshing. I remember it was such a huge deal when we found out that the people who animated Dragon Ball Super Broly, the movie, we're going to be animating One Piece. You know, I thought it was an amazing idea. I love the new art style overall. It's really good. The pacing has gotten a little bit better, right? But still, it still seems to be a big issue with the anime. If only One Piece was a seasonal anime, right? It would be godly, right? It would be in everybody's top tier. Everybody's top tier. It would be one of the greatest anime of all time, right? It's already one of the greatest mangas of all time, but I feel like the pacing is what stops the anime from reaching that like top tier level. But imagine if it was seasonal, man. Imagine if they just took 9 to 12 months of a break and just brought like pure quality. Oh man, I don't even want to begin to think about it because that's what I'm gonna want, right? So anyway, back to the manga. I don't want this video to be too long. I'm hoping this video can stay around 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna jump around a lot. Next, let's talk about the prison of Udon, right? So we all know Luffy gets defeated. We have a little prison arc, right? But instead of him sneaking into the prison, this time he's actually like a prisoner, and he's all bloodied up and bandaged up, and it's really intense, right? It's really dark. We see, here's where we get introduced to Sensei Hyogoro, right? We get introduced to Hyogoro. We have some cool kid moments. Because of Hyogoro, he was added into the story because we wanted to level up Luffy in a way that was realistic but also quick, right? Because we needed to get him stronger quickly, and he got completely decimated by Kaido, so we needed a reason for him to get a lot stronger fairly quickly, and that's where we get introduced to advanced armament hockey and Ryo and that whole thing. We also get a very interesting plot point in the form of Big Mom coming to Wano, which part of me wonders if the arc might have been better had she not arrived, right? What if she never came to Wano? Would the arc have been better? Who knows, right? There are a lot of pros and cons, but I did feel like her chaos factor did add some pretty cool moments to the arc, right? And of course the finale, which we'll get into later. But, you know, they gave her amnesia. They didn't give her access to any of her crew, right? Her crew got thrown off the waterfall twice, which was a very interesting choice, right? I feel like Oda pretty much brought her here so that he can up in the stakes, right? Have 2 Yonkos instead of 1, make it more intense. But you know, who knows? Who knows what would have been better? It would have been, personally, I think if she wouldn't have been there in this arc, it would have been cool to see Luffy like low diff a commander, right? Because we never really saw him fight the commanders, and it would have been interesting to see his growth, right? Like how he is now compared to how he was at Whole Cake Island, where Yonko commanders were giving him a lot of trouble and extreme diff fights, whereas now he should be like low diffing or mid diffing them. So it would have been cool to see Luffy's growth in that aspect, because he kind of just went from fighting a first Yonko commander to fighting full Yonko. So it would have been pretty cool to see him fight Queen, at least have like a decent little skirmish with him, but that's just me. I don't know. It's just my opinion. So anyway, we fast forward a little bit. Zoro fights Killer. Sanji fought Page 1. Sanji using the raid suit was definitely a huge highlight for me. I'm a huge Sanji fanboy, so I remember being extremely hyped for that. And him seeing him use the powers of the raid suit, right? It was just pure hype at that time, right? I'm like, oh my god, the Straw Hat's got a Power Ranger in the mix, right? So we'll fast forward again to Onigashima, right? So Onigashima, the epic climax of the arc, right? Or the real part 2, I guess you could call it, right? It's kind of like if we go back to Water 7 and Enies Lobby, right? Or Impel Down and Marineford, it's kind of like part 1 and part 2 of the arc. Wano was like the setup for Onigashima, right? So Onigashima was the epitome of hype, right? We knew we were about to get Marineford part 2, or at least that's what we felt at the time, right? So I'm talking about how we felt in the moment as the chapters were coming out. It had the potential to blow Marineford completely out of the water, with the introduction of the Toby Roppo being especially hype at that time of their introduction. It felt like all the Straw Hats had their matchups, right? It felt like We were really going to see some epic matches, some ultra high stakes, extreme diffs, right? Everything on the line, every Straw Hat giving it their all. But no, besides the Monster Trio, the only Straw Hat that truly had an epic moment was probably Robin, right? You know, her going demon mode. And I guess you could count Nami's little speech in regards to the whole ulti thing, which was cool, but honestly, it was nowhere near as cool as Robin's moment. I feel like the Straw Hats had the opportunity to have some amazing moments, right? But it was all very lackluster, and the Tobiropo were easily dealt with for the most part, right? Then we get Roof Piece. This was huge, right? I think this was pure insanity. These chapters of Roof Piece blew my mind when they were coming out, right? It felt like I was reading a fan fiction, and I think a lot of people felt like that. It was beyond hype. Kaido and Big Mom versus 5 of the worst generation. It was beautiful to read, and the anime is doing a pretty good job of adapting it as well. Definitely some of the greatest and most memorable moments of the arc come from a handful of these chapters, which I believe started at chapter 1000 to like 1008, 1010, something like that, if I remember correctly. The epitome of hype, in my opinion. I love those chapters. I think that might have been like the greatest sequence of chapters in the whole arc. Was that like that first battle with the Supernova versus the 2 Yonko. Fast forward a little bit, then we get Sanji versus Queen, Zoro versus King. Stuff which overall was enjoyable, right? It was enjoyable, but it felt a little bit rushed, a little bit low stakes, especially Sanji's fight, right? It kind of felt like a gag fight in a lot of ways, and it would have been cooler to see Sanji struggle a bit more. He sort of mid-diffed Queen in the end, thanks to his power-up, which, being a Sanji fanboy, I'm glad they gave him a power-up, but a part of me was a little bit disappointed we weren't going to see the raid suit, right? I kind of wanted to see more raid suit action. I thought him getting the powers without the suit was kind of meh at first, right? But now I'm okay with it. Still, I think it's a bit odd, though. But I've accepted this fact, right? I've accepted that he just has powers now, right? He has these crazy abilities now that, you know, genetic factor or whatever, but yeah, I kind of like the raid suit idea, right? I thought it was pretty cool. Zoro's fight was much cooler compared to Sanji's, right? And Zoro versus King felt truly dangerous, right? It felt like there was actual stakes involved, along with learning about the Lunarians, which I thought was very cool, right? It really felt like right-hand man versus right-hand man, you know, Luffy's right hand versus Kaido's right hand. So it was the battle of the first mates, right? It didn't disappoint. I just wish we would have gotten a little more of a showcase, right, from both of them. It felt sort of quick, but in terms of quality, it was awesome, right? It was visually pleasing. It was a cool battle, but yeah, I felt a little rushed, right? Finally, we get Big Mom versus Kid and Law. This fight was handled pretty well. I love the finale. I love the finale of the fight. I love their final attacks, their awakenings. It was super epic. But I didn't like that most of the fight was off screen, right? We didn't really see them do much to Big Mom except some of the attacks at the end, right? It felt like Law and Kid had a lot of plot armor as well. But it is what it is, right? This fight was cool, but besides having an awesome finale, I think it could have been handled much better. I think we could have seen a little bit more of Kid and Law and what they actually did. And sometimes it didn't really make much sense that, you know, there was one scene in particular where Big Mom's just battering Law, and Law is somehow able to like not let go of his sword, even though like it feels like 1 or 2 punches from Big Mom should knock him out, but I don't know. Well, whatever. It was a good fight though. I really much enjoyed the finale of that fight, but overall the fight was okay. It was pretty good. And finally, you know, we're fast forwarding through Wano, right? But finally we got Luffy versus Kaido, 1v1. I know I skipped a million things, but I'm just focusing on like the main parts of Wano, right? I love this battle. Every time Luffy would get up and do a little bit better against Kaido, I felt like a little kid again, right? I'm rooting for Luffy. I'm losing my mind. Every time Luffy would get like a clean hit on Kaido, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. This is insane. You know, he gets defeated a few times, right? We all know that, but we know what happens. He unlocks Gear 5th. I lose my mind yet again, right? Seeing him use all his new powers and turning into a giant and grabbing the lightning and grabbing the floor and turning it into rubber. It was awesome, right? I love these chapters. But then we get the finale of the fight, right? We get the finale of the fight, and Luffy forms a super big punch, right? And punches Dragon Kaido into the Earth's core. Okay. I know there wasn't really much options, right? Like, how else was Luffy supposed to defeat Kaido? I just think Kaido was a bit disappointing, right? And this might be controversial, but I think he was a little bit disappointing. The flashback was pretty lame, right? We didn't really get much. We got like 3 pages of a flashback. And the fact that he was in dragon form in the finale of the fight, like the final attack was him in dragon form, which hands down is his weakest form. I feel like it took away from the moment for me. I feel like he should have been in his hybrid form, launching up a crazy, Ragnarok attack at Luffy, or something like Ocean Sovereignty, which he did with Big Mom, but like a full powered one where he puts all his haki into it or something like that, where he's using like his club. I don't know. It just felt like him in dragon form was a little bit lackluster. He was basically using tackle, right? It was basically like Gyarados using tackle versus like, Luffy's punch. It just seemed a little bit underwhelming. But Luffy looked great. Luffy looked awesome. Like, I don't really blame Luffy for using a giant punch. I don't blame that writing, right? But I think Kaido's last attack could have been better. I just felt like he was literally just using tackle on a punch, which I thought was pretty lame. Next, we get the Wano wrap-up, right? Let's just fast forward. Kaido gets defeated. Big Mom gets defeated. Next, we get the Wano wrap-up. We see Green Bull, which was amazing, right? I loved Green Bull's introduction. I was losing my mind. I was like, this is peak fiction, right? This is peak fiction. We finally get to see the new Admiral in action. There was so much hype, right? I was so hyped to see Green Bull. I was so excited to see this character. He seemingly no-diffed King and Queen. He's being made out to be like a freaking god, right? But then he gets beat up by the Scabbards and no-diffed by Shanks, who was 100 miles away. And, okay, Shanks is an absolute savage. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hype, like a little schoolgirl during when we learned that Shanks was in Wano and was doing like long-range conquerors, hockey, no-scope attacks, right? But Green Bull, man. Green Bull got owned pretty much, right? Like pretty quick. But shout out to Shanks though. All the Shanks stuff was awesome. Then we get the latest chapters, which you guys should check out my review for, right? Just reviewed chapter 1057. Go check that out. I'll put the link up there. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed. But basically, the last chapter, long story short, Yamato is not joining the Straw Hats, which is a very, very interesting story decision, right? There was so much hype for her joining. I think it was a bit of a waste of time and hype now, right? But Luffy is going to leave Momo a flag to hang in Wano, so I guess there's that, right? I guess that's worth it, right? We don't get Yamato in the crew, but at least Luffy gave them a flag, right? So I'm kidding about the flag. That was pretty cool, right? Luffy's an emperor now, and he's gonna be, he's going to be the deterrent for Marines and pirates in Wano, which, it's pretty cool. But Yamato not joining, I felt like that. I felt like a little bit of a waste of time now, right? A waste of energy and hype. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. It might have been the best decision ever. In my last chapter review, I do go into where I think Yamato is going, what I think Yamato is going to do at the end of the story, which I think is the reason she didn't join right now. I think they're saving her for a big epic moment later down the line. So I go deep into that in my chapter review, which you should check out. Oh yeah, and then of course Luffy and Buggy become emperors. I love this, right? I love Buggy. I have a video about Buggy that I made that I put a lot of time into. Check that out as well. I love this moment. It's a 10 out of 10, and now Law, Kid, and Luffy all have the same bounty as well, which I thought was a little weird, right? I kind of hated this at first, right? I'm like, how do Luffy, Law, and Kid all have the same exact bounty when it's obvious Luffy did more and soloed a Yonko compared to them 2v1ing a Yonko? But I think now I'm okay with it, because now I feel that I believe this is Law and Kid's plateau, right? I think that's their peak. I don't think they're gonna ever get a bounty increase ever again in the story. I think 3 billion is their max, where I feel that Luffy's is going to continue to increase. So that is where I feel that that is where I'm okay with it, because I know that Luffy's is going to continue to increase, whereas Law and Kids, I think 3 bill is the max for them, right? Yeah, that's pretty much Wano, guys. Kaido was a bit disappointing. The finale of his battle with Luffy was rushed, right? And his flashback was way too short. I know Oda's saving the Rocks pirate stuff for later, but we really should have gotten at least a whole chapter dedicated to Kaido's backstory, right? Like Big Mom had like 5 chapters dedicated to her flashback, and you know, Kaido had like 3 pages worth, right? So it really felt like we should have gotten more, right? We didn't really grow with Kaido much at all, right? The Straw Hats didn't really have, like, compared to like Doflamingo and Katakuri, like what do we really know about Kaido that we didn't already assume, right? So I don't know. The Straw Hats didn't really have the fights we were expecting them to have either. It felt like they should have done more, right? Especially characters like Usopp and Nami. I felt like they were wasted. Brooke and Frankie did very little as well, right? They had their little moments, but you know, and Chopper had a couple little moments too, but you know, it was all him being a doctor. Even Jinbei's fight was a bit lackluster, although we did learn a few interesting things. But you know, he pretty much low-diffed Who's Who. I just wish we had more time to flesh out some of their fights. I wish we would have. I really thought this was going to be like Enies Lobby, right? Part 2. We're going to see, you know, the Straw Hats go all out. But no, we didn't really get to see much of that, besides maybe, you know, Luffy and Zoro. It felt like we were going to get some more Zoro backstory as well, right? In Wano, or have him do more. But that's it. He showed up. He got a new sword. He scarred Kaido. And he beat a first Yonko commander, which is very impressive strength-wise. Very impressive strength-wise. But compared to how much we grew with Sanji and Whole Cake Island, I feel like we barely grew with Zoro as a character, right? I don't feel more attached to him after Wano, right? I feel the same. You know, I'm always going to love Zoro, but I just thought we were going to get a little deeper into his character and, you know, grow more attached to him, where I feel like we're pretty much the same. Like when Wano started and Wano now, I still love Zoro the same, right? He's still one of my favorite characters, but I just feel like we didn't really get any character growth, right? Besides, you know, strength-wise, he hasn't really grown as a character all that much. Which maybe I'm wrong. That might be a controversial take, but you know, if you disagree, put it in the comments, right? I'll gladly change my mind if you can give me some proof. Another thing, right? Nobody important died. Nobody important died in Wano compared to Marineford, where Whitebeard and Ace died, right? Spoiler alert. None of the good guys died here, besides some of the scabbards, but let's be honest, right? Their deaths were kind of last-minute confirmations, right? I don't even think Oda really intended for them to die. I think it was like the editors told him, hey, Oda, you need some more casualties, bro. And they forced him to add some non-impactful deaths, right? It would have been crazy to have seen someone more important, right? At least like Kinemon, right? Like the leader of the Scabbards, somebody that we've grown with and we're attached to. Like it would have been pretty cool to see him go out, right, in a blaze of glory, right? At least give him a cool moment. Or maybe even Momonosuke, right? That would have been pretty crazy too, if like adult Momo sacrificed himself to like save Wano. That actually would have been pretty intense. And then like Hiyori becomes the Shogun or something like that. That would have been very interesting. Or even Law, right? That might be a little, some people might hate that, but there was a lot of hype for a long time that Law was going to sacrifice himself so that Luffy could beat Kaido. Like something crazy was going to happen there, but no, nobody important died. And it felt like, I feel like Wano needed a big death. And we didn't really get anything. We got Yasui and we got a couple scabbards, right? I don't think that's enough. I think the final battle would have truly ended with a bang, had someone important, you know, sacrificed themselves for the greater good and saved the Straw Hats or Wano or something like that. I think it would have been a good addition. Anyway, guys, just to be clear, I love this arc, right? I love One Piece. I love this story. It's one of my favorite arcs, easily top 5, maybe even top 3, right? But it could have easily been number 1, and that's what I'm getting at with this this video, right? I think the main culprit was time, right? It seems Wano bit off more than it can chew. It was trying to wrap up so many things as quickly as possible to line up with Film Red, which I believe is the true suspect, right? The Shanks coming to Wano plot point had to line up with the release of Film Red, which you know, since if this is the case, it feels like we the audience have been cheated, right, in some way, but who knows, right? But I really think that Film Red had a huge was a huge reason why Wano seemed so rushed in the last last 20 chapters or so. Still an amazing arc. It had some of the most epic and memorable moments in the entire story, but overall, as it just wrapped up, I don't think it lived up to its potential as what could have been the greatest One Piece arc of all time. If you liked the video, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. What did you think about Wano, right? Let me know in the comments below. Take care. Peace.